morning folks, welcome back to the Eva Christie Hand Knitting podcast with your host, me, Eva. I'm coming to you once again from my beautiful and wild garden in what's at the moment quite a roasty toasty Perth, Scotland. Let's start off with welcoming you back. So if you are a new viewer, welcome to the podcast. I hope that you enjoy what you're about to see, and if you are a returning viewer, then thanks for coming back and visiting me again. You'll find me in all the fun places. I am Pam Within on Ravelry. We have a Ravelry group for the podcast. That's the Eva Christie Hand Knitting podcast. If you just go and look in the groups tab, then you'll find us. I am Eva Christie Hand Knitting on Facebook and Tumblr, and I am at Eva Knits on Twitter. You will hear a bit of background noise just because I've got neighbours out doing stuff and everyone wants to make the best of the weather. If it gets a bit crazy, we'll pause and go back inside, guys. So I'm just going to take a wee sip of coffee. I've got some big news to share with you all today. So my big news, which Josh and I got it's Tuesday past there, is that we are moving to our forever home. So we are so excited, it's unreal. It's organised chaos here at the moment, both with myself, you know, the hair's just dragged back, old clothes on, house is a complete guddle. But no, I'm not talking to the cats. Hiya Kathy, I'm podcasting from my garden. Hiya. Parental advisory warning. Yeah, that's my lovely neighbour. So, as I was saying, it's a bit random what's happening. My lovely neighbour who's just introduced herself there, Kathy, and I have the same landlord, and we are going to be swapping houses. So as you've heard me mention before, I've got a one-bedroom bungalow, which is lovely, and I share that with my partner Josh and our two adorable fur baby cats, Smeagol and Martha. Kathy is not getting rid, isn't the right word, but she's brought up her family of 4 children in her home next door. She has a 3-bedroom house, and the last of her children, Rebecca, is about to move in to her first home with friends. So that's very exciting for everybody, but Kathy was looking to downsize, and we've been neighbours for 6 years now, although Kathy's been in that house a lot longer. So we've been in touch with the landlord, they've agreed that we can swap homes. We're all really excited, so we've already been moving bits and pieces back and forth in stages. Yeah, so not a huge amount of knitting done, or stitching, really very little hashtag stitching revolution stuff going on. Not a huge amount of knitting to show you this week, but I'm sure you'll understand, and that's why as well I've had a few messages come through from Ravelry, and it's not that I'm being rude, just my time has been extremely limited at the moment, so I promise we'll get back to you. So I just wanted to share my really exciting news with you. One of the best things that's going to happen is that I'm actually going to have a dedicated studio space in the house, so I'm going to get everything completely set up. That's where I'm going to work from, and that's where I'll probably mainly podcast to you from the future, so you'll get all the lovely sort of backdrops of wool and what I'm working on, everything. Just, oh seriously, when I got the news I just burst out crying. I was just so happy. So let's move on to KAL news. Glasgow Subway KAL. I have knitted in my entirety 3,812.9 metres now, which takes me to Kelvin Hall. I'm probably about halfway over to the next station, which I can't remember what it is at the moment. Here's the board. Let's see if I can get all the boards in screen. So I've updated it to the best of my knowledge. I think a few of the stickies had to kind of come off during our moving about stuff, so I think I've stuck them all back on and I've checked the places, so apologies if I've got it wrong. So still at Kinning Park we have This Boy Knits, Shar Knits, Luzol, Mary Punk and Granny Sheep. At Cessnock we have Yarn Girl 900, Woolen Flute, Sam Glover, Miss Katie Ann, Bubby's Mum 77, well no we don't, sorry, Miss Katie Ann, Whiskey Girl and Silverdale 11, and we have Vivacia Knits as well. At Ibrox we've got Bubby's Mom 77, Tall Polish Girl, Mint Pixie and Leela Spencer, who's just joined the KAL, and Ladybug Lily, you're still Ibrox as well. At Govan we have Handbag Crazy, at Partick we have The Yarn Goes On, and I'm here at Kelvin Hall. So well done guys, keep crafting, keep going, we've got until the end of December to go, and I've started collecting prizes for that as well. They're coming in thick and fast, so really excited about that. The other KAL that's due to start on the 1st of August is our D'Urberville Along. So you'll have heard me talking about that a little bit before. As I said on the last episode, did I even say what episode we're on today and what date it is? I'm not quite sure. So we're on episode 15 and it's the 18th of July 2016. So previous episode would be episode 14. I have put a reading schedule together for Tessa the D'Urbervilles over the 6 weeks that the KAL will be taking place. You don't need to read it, it's just suggested reading schedule, and you know, you can read a bit faster, a bit slower, as long as you, to participate in the KAL and be eligible for prizes, you must have read the entire book within the 6 week period. Sontag, that's the other part of the KAL. We're all going to be knitting the Sontags at the same time. So as I've said before, there's some fantastic both to purchase and free patterns on Ravelry and in other places, and I'll open up a chatter thread for that reasonably soon so we can start talking about what patterns are selected and what yarn we're going to use to do our D'Urberville Along. So I'm now going to move on to rehomed yarns. So first up we have Look Away Now. Look Away Now if you've signed up to the Countess Ablaze Sock Yarn Club, the one with Lady Persephone Sock Yarn. So this is a spoiler alert, although everybody should have their yarn by today's date if you're in the UK. If you're overseas, it may still be there, so this is your warning, although you may have got a very, very quick glimpse as I took it off the table there, and sorry if you did. So here it is. I'm having socks out this. The last one I definitely knew had to go in a shawl. These are going to be socks. It's just awesome. So this is called Poison Heart. It's from the Lady Persephone Sock Club. It's round 8.2. This is 75% superwash, biffle and 25% nylon. It's 4-ply, fingering weight and 100 grams per 425 meters. So it's just amazing. Really, really excited to get that. I love having the greys and the greens, and it's a very, it's not quite neon, it's kind of muted. Love it. Love it. And then I met Sam Glover. Hiya Sam. At the weekend, and I think she was having a wee bit of a de-stash, and she explained to me that she doesn't knit with 4-ply for reasons that I won't disclose here because that's not very fair, but she asked if these 2 balls of 4-ply would be any good to me with all the projects that I'm doing at the minute. So I was absolutely delighted to take them off her hands, and although they were a gift, I did do an exchange because I had some yarn with me at the time. So this is Drops Fable print. It's 50 grams. It's colour 911 and the composition is 75% wool and 25% polydamides. So this is brilliant. 50 grams, so 205 metres, so I'm going to get some of this in my sock yarn, Cozy Memories blanket, and I'll keep some probably for sort of cuffs, heels, toes, all that sort of jazz, because my sock knitting is coming on, folks. And this one is Krolando, which is a brand that I've never heard of before, and again it feels the same. It looks like it could be German brand. They really do quite a lot of sock yarn. Farb and Party, yeah, possibly. So the colour is DO12. I've got 50 grams and it's 210 metres, and again, Cozy Memories sock yarn blanket, and cuffs, heels, toes, and I can mix these in with neutrals and other bits and pieces that I've got in stash. So thank you, Sam. It's extremely kind of you. I'm really going to enjoy working with these, and I don't think it's going to be that late because the Cozy Memories blanket has not been packed away for moving. So that's my rehomed yarns, and although it's hot, folks, I'm still on the coffee. I've got strong ground coffee in there at the moment because I'm needing it to go by. Hope that's not too distracting. I think that might be a street cleaner or something going on. Like I said, everyone's making the best of the weather at the moment. So here is one of the sections of my Cozy Memories blanket. This is how it's coming on, and I've added just the 2 squares this week. So the first one is this one here. This is Opal. It's from the Little Prince series, and this is the Little Prince and the Fountain. And I think, hiya, it's a pussycat. I'm talking to a pussycat this time. Hey Mateo. So that's great. And then this one, I have no idea what this is. The label's off. It will be. Do you know what? I'm showing these to you the wrong way round. Sorry. There we go. Little Prince and the Fountain. This isn't Opal. It might be Shivpata for Opal. I'm not 100% sure, but it's kind of semi-solid purples. Okay, I have finished item, which I'm very excited about, and I'm going to show you this because my parents came to visit me on Wednesday and I've not seen them since around about Christmas time. It's always a delight to see them. They're a 2-hour drive away. I don't drive. It can take easily 4.5 hours or more on public transport because of all the different changes for me to go and visit them, and they live in a little village called Gairlichhead on the west coast of Scotland, which is where I grew up, and Gairlichhead is quite close to Helensburgh, 8 miles on one side, and Aracher, which is 8 miles on the other. But my mum is extremely crafty, very talented. It's where I get my creative streak from. And she has been extremely busy on her sewing machine and had been working her way through a big pile of fabric that I gave her. Let's just diplomatically say a wee while ago, but that's fine because life takes over for both of us. But this is one of the fabrics that I gave to her. And I hadn't said what I wanted, and then all of a sudden I thought, do you know what, I don't have any project bags at all, and at this stage they might be quite handy to have. So this is one of the ones that she made for me. I'm going to save the others until I've actually got bits and pieces in them and after the move to show it to you. Lovely bright red zip, and it's just cream. Just put some cream in there, but there's all sort of defacing and stuff to make it really quite robust. So I'm thrilled. I've just been using this non-stop ever since she brought it to me. I will be selling some project bags that my mum's made up at the Perth Festival of Yarn on the 2nd of October on my own stall, and by that point she'll have labels and things and she'll have come up with the names. So yeah, come by, get them from my mum. My mum's called Fari. She doesn't spell it the Gaelic way, or rather her parents didn't spell it the Gaelic way, but I love my mum. We're very, very close and very lucky to have such a brilliant relationship with her. So as I'm getting all emotional now, yeah, I have finished the project. So I showed you my Twilight socks by Melissa Morgan Oakes last time. These were knit from the cuff down, so I'd got into my stitch marker from Jamie of Winged Orange. So finished the toe later on that day, Kitchener stitch grafting off, got the reinforced heel, absolutely thrilled. And then last night as I was chilling out, Josh had been helping me all weekend move boxes back and forth, and I'd done a card book sale to try and get rid of a few bits of pieces, bric-a-brac and old vinyl and CDs and books and such. I got my second sock done! So this is pair 4. The box of socks KAL now complete. These are going into David. Hiya David! And Kirsty. So it's David This Boy and Kirsty Little B podcasts. They're sci-fi and fantasy all along. These are eligible for lots of other KALs as well. I've got a list somewhere about all the different KALs that I can enter my socks in because they were knitted after the 1st of July. This is fabulous. So thrilled, absolutely thrilled with these. These are the first pair of adult size socks in actual 4-ply sock yarn on 2.5mm needles. It's the smallest needles that I've ever worked on as well, that I've ever done, so chuffed to bits. And then as if that wasn't enough, the only item that I've got on my needles at the minute that I'm working on, which I had to go and cast on immediately afterwards that, is using my Arne & Carlos Media yarn that I picked up from McCarry Brothers in Stirling and showed to you last time. Like I said before, I've been coveting this yarn. I have been absolutely desperate for this yarn and finally managed to get my paws on some. So that's been cast on, and with 4 pairs of socks for myself now under my belt, I felt brave enough to have got sock architecture down as I like it and to design my own pair. And they're just going to be a pair of vanilla socks at the minute, so here we go again, cuff down, which I enjoy doing cuff down. As previously mentioned as well, I don't get second sock syndrome. I'm quite happy doing them one at a time. So I like big cuffs and I cannot lie. So that's my cuff using Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy cast on, and I'm just into the vanilla now as well. It is really, really warm out here. Should possibly put on some sun cream even just to come out and do the podcast. I can feel my forearms crisping up a bit. I'm really quite light sensitive. Okay, so I've been reading just a little as well, but at least I have finished this novel, The Hare with the Amber Eyes. Got mixed feelings about it, to be honest. There were bits where it was extremely difficult to empathise with the family members of the author. I think it was when they came out of the First World War, you know, really quite unscathed, to the extent that they'd never gone hungry, they'd never had to pawn anything. They really hadn't had many adjustments to make to their life compared to what everyone else is going through, and the bit that really made me feel physically sick, to be honest, was when they said, you know, I think the family fortune had maybe dropped, but they still had the equivalent of $400 million. Yeah, at that point. However, that then turns on its head with the event of the Second World War, because the family is Jewish, and living all over the world, global, and you know, anybody Jewish that went through the Holocaust and the Second World War and such, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And then I felt really guilty about feeling the way that I felt previously. But what really got me, and why I was really drawn to reading this book in the first instance, was that the author is a potter based in Wales. And it was the very fact about objects as you make them and create them with your hands, how they're passed on, what their history becomes, what their history's been maybe before it reaches you, what it's to become in its future when something leaves your hands, because you live to create, and then you hope that what you make maybe becomes an heirloom, or it's enjoyed by future generations, and what happens to it, and the history alongside of those people while they're possessing it. And that was extremely interesting to kind of keep coming back to that. And I started another book yesterday. Sorry, I really hope all that noise isn't disturbing you too much. It probably isn't picking up too much on camera. I'll just speak up a little bit. So the second book is this. So this is Everything and Nothing by Araminta Hall. As children we are told not... I'll start again. As children we are told not to talk to strangers. As adults we welcome them into our homes. So how do we know exactly who to trust? On the surface, Ruth and Christian seem like ordinary working couple with 2 kids and a home in chaos. As the cracks in their marriage widen, they decide to get their very own super nanny, Aggie. Quietly efficient, she brings calm and order, and the children adore her. But why is Aggie so eager to gain their trust? Is there something sinister about her efforts to create the perfect family? And what is she really doing in their home? Everything and Nothing builds to a mesmerising climax in a story that is, at its heart, about thwarted and damaged love. It's not the biggest novel. I'm trying not to have too much going on as we approach our D'Urberville along, because I do like to just singularly read one novel at a time and completely immerse myself in it. Pardon me. And at the same time, the one thing that has all completely been boxed up now are my novels. And there are several boxes, well, several bookcases full, so you can just imagine how many boxes that is, and these are large bookcases. So yeah, I'm hoping that this should just keep me going until the D'Urberville along starts, but I probably will just have to pick into some short stories or some poetry or something in the meantime. Excuse me. So I am not watching much at all. We're now on episode 3. I watched episode 3 of 6 of The Living and the Dead, which features Colin Morgan. Yeah, listening a lot to one particular audiobook while I have been sort of packing away, so I'm a wee bit behind on my podcasts because I like to be able to look up all the time and see what they're knitting properly, focus on that, and I can't do that from packing. It's just going to be too much of a distraction. So I have been listening to Effie Briest by Theodore Fontan. The next thing I want to talk about is the Independence Day yarn away that I've done 2 episodes ago. Now, I locked the thread before I came on and podcasted this morning, and I did a random number generator, and it's not going to show up on the screen showing it to you, so I hope that you'll just take my word for how it came out. It was number 8, who is Mary Punk. Well done, Mary. And I know Mary very well, and it's kind of funny how not so long ago I had spoken about wanting to make my giveaways all-inclusive, because this is really, you know, an inclusive podcast. It's for everybody. I really do kind of preach about love and acceptance and understanding people and their views, and you might not agree with it, but just embrace it and let's all get on globally a little bit better. Now, I personally know Mary. I've known Mary for a couple of years, and Mary won't mind me telling you that she is a very strict vegan, and that's something that I really admire. Mary is vegan to the point where she will not work with animal fibres in her knitting, and I totally respect that. So, the prize that I have put aside of the Yarn Company green double knitting wool isn't appropriate for her. So I have had a look through stock wool and yarn, and I have come up with something else which I hope will be acceptable to Mary, and hope the rest of you will be cool about, because what I'll do is I'll just put that yarn aside for a future giveaway. So what I've come up with for you, Mary, is this Araucania cotton. It's 100% cotton, it's 185 metres and it's 100 grams, so it's about the equivalent of the double knitting, the two 50-gram skeins that I had for the other prize. It's a discontinued shade. We've got oranges and purples and like a khaki green in there. And I looked at the stitch marker that was on the other set and I thought, that's, knowing you, Mary, that's not really entirely appropriate and I don't think you'd use it. So I've given you this other one that I made, and I don't know if it's going to pick up properly on this screen, but it's like a neon pink skull. And that's so totally Mary. So Mary, I'm not going to message you or text you immediately. I would like you to see this and get a surprise. So yeah, if it's over a week and you've not been in touch, then I'll get in touch with you. But yeah, let me know when's a good time to kind of drop it off, whether you want me to drop it into your work or whatever, because there's no point sending this in the post from one Perth address to another. But congratulations! Okay, we've had a few questions in the Ask Eva thread, so I'm going to go through those today. That is a thread that I opened on Ravelry. So first up we had Lily, who is Ladybug Lily, and she's got a podcast called the Ladybug Laboratory, which you totally should go and check out. And Lily was asking, you've mentioned before that you work from home, what do you do? And the very simple answer to that is I am a knitwear designer, and I do various pop-up events. I primarily design patterns and sell them in kit form. I don't have an Etsy shop at the moment. It's something that I keep saying I'll do, but life keeps getting in the way. I'm hoping to hand dye some yarn in the future, which once I've got a bit more space, there should be absolutely no barriers to it at all. The other thing I do is I am a cat herder extraordinaire, which is kind of funny with Kathy saying, are you talking to those cats again? Because all I need to do is to kind of step outside the house and talk to a neighbour or to one of the cats that's about, and they all come running, and it is a standing joke up here, and they all visit the house as such. And then we've got Mint Pixie asked a question. It was quite a long one, so I'm just going to see if I can fire up the tablet and hopefully not get too much glare. I may have to take my glasses off for a moment so I can properly see. It was a particularly good one that you came up with, Barb, who's Mint Pixie. Where are we? Back into my podcast group. Here we go. Okay, so Barb asked, excuse me, hello Eva, I was wondering whether you still played the sax and which one. alto, tenor, soprano. You need plenty of puff, I know. I used to play the flute. And what type of music do you listen to? I love music with a strong sax element, and I think began with the opening haunting riff in Jerry Rafferty's Baker Street. Other favourites include Ronnie Laws and David Sanborn. The older stuff by the Rippingtons, brilliant cat artwork on their CD covers, have a pretty good mixture of jazz solos for the sax and guitar. Okay, here's a series of confessions. So yes, my degree is in music performance. I got that by the time I was 20. I started playing saxophone when I was 12 years old, but I had been desperate for one for about 5 years before. They are extremely expensive, and being the eldest of 3 children, what you do for one you have to do to others to be fair. So it took a fair bit of saving up on behalf of my parents and grandparents, and showing commitment from myself that this was still something I wanted to do. It wasn't a whim like a lot of children have. I was playing recorders and I had a digital horn, which was like an electric instrument that was saxophone shaped. I played a bit of guitar, all sorts of bits of keyboards, and yeah, it really showed commitment. And I think within the space of about 6 months or so I went and did my grade 5 exam. So that just shows you how committed I lived, breathed, ate, slept music as a teenager. It was always on the go in the house. My mum played guitar as well. She used to sing to us all the time as children. My dad, although he doesn't play, is a massive music fan. So I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, all these really sort of beefy rock greats. The radio was always on, and I was always really encouraged to be musical. I was making up mixtapes from when I was 7. I used to, and when I was in primary school, so listening to the charts every weekend, and would record my own sort of full radio shows using tapes and such for fun, and circulate them around friends and people I was in primary school with. So first up, the confession is that I am not a jazz fan. Not that I really had anything against jazz music, it wasn't really something I was exposed to. And then when I went to college, although it was primarily a kind of popular music and rock music course, I had a saxophone teacher and we really didn't get on. In fact, none of the saxophone students did, and he was sacked just for his attitude. I think within our 2nd year. But yeah, to him, and he actually told me that really the only valid music as far as he was concerned was jazz. He only really wanted to teach me jazz. And I can play jazz, I can play blues, I can play every single style of music under the sun. I've been in military bands, I've marched with my saxophone, done military marching band cymbals with all the swishing and moving in the air. I've done dance band, I've done all the Glenn Miller stuff, Paul Stone, I've done all that. So it's not that I can't play it, it's just what I choose and what my passions are, and I very much rock ballads, ska, some easy listening, and I love playing sort of classical, although the saxophone isn't classical music. I used to sort of transpose all the pieces in the orchestra so that I could play as part of the school orchestra. So trying to think about music, my favourite acts and artists. David Bowie, massive David Bowie fan. I've seen him live 5 times, which, seeing as in the last 10 years of his life he didn't actually tour, is quite a big thing. David Bowie actually played saxophone and learned as a teenager, and he was a massive influence on me growing up, and he's part of the reason why saxophone was the instrument that I chose. I love the Waterboys. I have met a few of them a handful of times now. I've been in a fair bit of correspondence with Mike Scott, who is their vocalist and guitarist and pianist. I've actually done a knitting commission for him in the past. And I love Jeff Buckley as well. One of my tattoos is a lyric of his from the song Lover You Should Have Come Over, and the lyrics that I have in an Elvish script across my shoulder blades are "My kingdom for a kiss upon her shoulder," and that's one of the songs that I want played at my funeral. So I love, who else do I love? Kate Bush, all these sort of innovators. I love Florence and the Machine. Quite like dance music as well. There's nothing that I really have a massive aversion to apart from jazz, and it's kind of that more sort of freeform jazz noodles that isn't really that melodic. It doesn't follow any sort of melodic structures. Yeah. And the second part of that was, well, do you still play? And the honest answer to that is no, not really. Twofold reasons for that. First of all, when the recession hit, and hit Scotland and it hit Perth, well, it hit everywhere bad, but all of the music venues that there were kind of shut their doors to music, and became sort of family friendly orientated sort of gastropubs. So it was all cheap family meals that they were doing. And for a while I would travel the 50 miles to Glasgow and back and perform and sing and play my saxophone and accompany myself on guitar and things, and I would just do the whole lot as a solo act, because a lot of bands didn't want a saxophonist, they didn't want to split wages an additional way, or want a female vocalist, so that just didn't happen. So to perform, I did it for myself, and I would teach, but most of the people that I taught were people who played saxophone or wanted to as children, and now their children were growing up and they were finally had that disposable income to follow their own dreams and passions. And again, when the recession hit, the first thing that goes are luxury items, and saxophone lessons were deemed as one. And the other reason for that is that my health really has deteriorated quite seriously over the years. I was diagnosed at one point a number of years ago with a functional movement disorder, and I won't go into all the different bits and pieces of how that affected me, but I had to learn how to walk properly again, and would get bad muscle spasms in my legs and my arms which could last for up to 10 hours. And although there's been a lot of crossover symptoms and what they've said now, that really that the body were a reaction neurologically to what my body was going through and interpreting what was going on. It's more of a software problem as opposed to a hardware problem, but a lot of the symptoms were consistent with MS and with brain tumours. What they're now saying, following, well, it'll be 3 years in September that I was hospitalised with a non-confirmed septic arthritis in my ankle, which I'm very lucky to have come out of the other side of, actually. But I've been left with ME as a result, and I've got my fibromyalgia now. I've got severe Raynaud's phenomena. I have degrees of joint hypermobility syndrome, and I can quite often suffer from anxiety just purely as an overload of my brain trying to cope and to process with everything it's being hit with within my physical body. So I haven't really disclosed most of this to you before, and maybe episode 15 is a good time to do that, because I really don't like being defined by it, but it meant that I was unable to work full time any longer. Because I live with my boyfriend, I'm not entitled to any benefits at all, because apart from showing slightly elevated levels of some stuff in my bloodstream, it's not enough to kind of prove it to this current government. So I had to become self-employed in some way, and being quite honest, I'm not, you know, it's still going to be a while before I actually start turning over any sort of profit with that, and that's not, none of this is me asking for sympathy. That is primarily part of the reason why I don't do a lot of giveaways. I can't afford to. You know, Josh financially supports me, and I absolutely love that man for how supportive he is of me, and sees me as a woman, as a human being. He sees the love and compassion that I have, and yes, I have my bad times, but I keep fighting. I keep fighting, and I absolutely adore him. just over 4 years we've been together, and we've been through a lot. He was there to see me when I came out of surgery, and several times I've given him the opportunity to leave, and to leave with love, because it's going to get hard, and he's chosen to stand by me, and that says a lot for a man. I've been in other long-term relationships where the men just haven't been strong enough, and that's not their fault. It's not their path, it's not what they're choosing. Let them go with love. But I absolutely adore Josh. He's a sweetheart. Anyway, I digress. I'm just going to check this is still recording actually. Yeah, it's still recording. So and the other part of that question is, what saxophone do you play? Well, primarily it's alto, and once I've moved I might actually show you. I've got a beautiful alto saxophone that has all sorts of engraving all over the bell and faux mother of pearl inlays, keys. It's a golden brass colour. I can play tenor. I've got a spare tenor mouthpiece, so I can go in and do session work. I can fluently read music. I can read whatever's put in front of me, and be, you know, you have 5 minutes and we record, and I'm not bragging, it's what I was trained to do. So I own an alto, I have a mouthpiece for tenor. I played baritone saxophone for a long time, and yeah, I was a teenager when I played it. I didn't own one, I was given one. At one point I played in the West of Scotland Schools Concert Band. You had to pass various auditions. There were only four saxophonists or 5 saxophonists in the whole of Scotland. So half of Scotland would be eligible to perform in this band made up of school students. This is secondary school students, so probably 18, between 11 and 18 would have been the ages. Yeah, so a baritone saxophone's the one that's got the big massive curve round and kind of hits the ground, and I've played one of those marching as well. And I have a sopranino as well. The sopranino has the same sort of range of notes, tonality, as a soprano, and the soprano generally looks like a gold clarinet, straight, but a sopranino it's called because it's got a little bell. It's so cute, it's about so big, and it's got a little bit of engraving on it as well. So these days it's just down to my physical health. It's my circulation not being good enough a lot of the time to be able to get enough oxygen in my bloodstream to be able to play without passing out. When I do play now, I do have to sit down. Yeah, it's the way it goes, but a lot of people, when I have these conversations, oh no, you're still playing, it's, well, honestly, no, I could lie, I won't lie. And they tell you, oh, what a shame, you were so good, you were this, you were that. I mean, I played Glastonbury, I played Earl's Court, I played at the last ever Royal Tournament, and I was good. And it's always under the fingers, and the finger dexterity is still there. It's not an issue with that, but I'm still creative. I've just had to diversify, so I'm still living a very full and creative life, so I don't mourn for it. Okay, that was quite long-winded. And the last question I had was from, I'm going to totally butcher your name, sorry. Is it Drofnik? I have no idea, so please tell me phonetically how to pronounce your name. And this is a relatively new viewer of the podcast, and she asked about visiting yarn shops in Edinburgh, because she quite often comes back. I believe she lived in Scotland for a while and is planning a trip again in the future. So very briefly, yarn shops in Edinburgh, they don't tend to be ones that I frequent. I go to the Edinburgh Festival of Yarn, or I did this year. But you've got Ginger Twist Fibre Studio, which is run by Jess. Jess is an absolute sweetheart, very sort of vintage inspired, and she hand dyes. So if you only visit one independent yarn shop in Edinburgh, make sure it's Ginger Twist Fibre Studio. There's also Kathy's Knits, and there's Bee Inspired Fibres as well, and Macari Brothers also have a branch in Edinburgh, so they don't do independent dyed yarns as far as I'm aware of, but they do a lot of different brands, but it's quality luxury brands, but you'll find all your standard acrylics and things there as well. Now, just to finish, thank you very much for bearing with me, guys. I know the Ask Eva thread was quite long-winded and quite a lot of disclosure there. I hope it hasn't put you off. I just wanted to give out a bit of pod love. So, Scottish video podcasts are like buses. You wait ages for one and then two come along together. So first of all, it was Charlotte from Charlotte Knits and Kirsty, who's a little bee, deciding to independently podcast about the same time. Then we had David and myself, and now we have Leela Spencer of Leela Spencer Knit Socks, who's got a couple of episodes out. Hi Leela. If you love the rest of us, you'll love her. It's actually most of Scottish podcasters, video podcasters, tend to kind of have the same sort of feel and reasonably similar format, to be honest, so go check her out. And then I was reached out to yesterday by John. Yes, you heard me right, we have a second male knitting video podcaster. So John is based up in Thurso. He is beardy chiel. He's an absolute delight. He's only got one up. It's about 13 minutes long. I can't wait for more. Yeah, he's a teacher. You're just going to feel like you're taken into a big warm embrace. He's got the banter down to a T, so go check him out as well. I'm going to finish off here, guys. I hope I'm going to get a quick podcast in next week. I can't guarantee it. Obviously, you know, our priority at the minute is packing up our house. Now I've kind of told you a bit about my health as well, you'll understand that I really have to pace myself to keep going so that I don't end up with 20 hours a day in my bed that I have been like in the past. So much love to you all. Happy knitting, happy spinning, happy crocheting, happy whatever it is you do. Just be happy. Give us a like if you've liked the episode. Go and subscribe. Love you.